Hi, thanks for tuning in. My name is Andrew Nguyen, President of RECONpetro Technologies. I'm standing here this morning on a well site in Creek County, Oklahoma for Oakland Petroleum. We ran a triple combo service down to a TD of a 2,800 foot. We completed this job here in 3.5 hours, and I'm about to step into the recorder cab to speak with Christy Ferguson. She's an independent consultant based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I want to speak to her about her experience with Recon. So stay tuned. So I've got Christy Ferguson here with KLF Geo. She's been a great client for Recon, and so she's here. Just want to ask you, Christy, what's your experience with Recon?
Well, I've worked with today. It's been fantastic. We've got the whole crew here. Glad to see Andrew came out to the rig too, so we can first class show everybody what we've been doing and help the guys get the logs exactly the way I want to see them. I have my own special composite I like to have blended together, and so I'm very specific, and these guys make sure they look like that all the time. And I like the personal service.
Thanks, Christy. What was one thing about Recon that sets us apart from the other vendors that you've used in the past?
Oh, that's easy. The HDD, the high res definition. I absolutely love it. I've used Recon now for what, 8 years, and they're the ones I use all the time on every well for all my vendors and all my operators, because I absolutely like their HDD. Can't be beat.
Well, thanks, Christy, and I know you're busy. You got to get going, but here's your logs.
Thank you.
Appreciate your business. We'll see you on the next well, Christy.
Okay.
Thank you.
To illustrate the Recon advantage or uniqueness, here's a recent example of a log-off between Recon and Weatherford. It's a heavy oil well that was cored, so we actually took the rock out from the wellbore. Weatherford is the log on the left and Recon on the right. Reservoir evaluation and reserves determinations are based upon multiple inputs about the rock, completions, and production strategy employed. First and foremost, all companies must define the endpoint. And as we discussed in the previous slide, that endpoint is defined by OIP, original oil in place. Two of the fundamental measurements made by logging instruments that are quintessential in determining the reservoir quality and subsequent inputs into the OIP calculations are the gamma ray and the bulk density. The gamma ray is indicated by the circles in brown, or orange if you will, and the bulk density is indicated by the circles, the green circles. Fortunately, these two measurements that are easily made on core and can be related back to logs very simplistically. Gamma ray is the natural radioactivity of the rock. This natural phenomenon remains the same whether the rocks are in situ in the ground or at the surface. When comparing the gamma ray readings on the core at the surface and those of the two companies downhole, we see that there is a significant variance of the Weatherford data to the core measured data. This in the area of 15 to 20 API. The Recon data has a tighter fit or tie to the core data, with the variance only being between 2 to 5 API. So why is that important? Well, gamma ray is a fundamental measurement for determining the cleanliness of the reservoir, how shaly, dirty, or clogged the porosity is. In fact, gamma ray can be a deciding factor in whether or not to pursue development. Bulk density is the basic measurement that is ultimately converted to porosity. The most interesting part of this log-off is that the Weatherford data from logs does not have a great tie to the core data, whereas the Recon log data is more precise to that of the data gathered from the core. As bulk density is a fairly simplistic measurement, a piece of rock weighs so much and displaces a given amount of fluid, this value is one of the most reliable data points to tie back to core. And why is this so important? Well, a bulk density that is higher than that of the core will convert to a porosity lower than that of the rock. So in this particular case, we can see that the Weatherford log data will ultimately yield lower porosity values for the rock. The lower the porosity of the rock, the less space there is within the rock to hold hydrocarbons. A poor characterization of porosity, whether it be higher or lower, has a great effect on the accuracy of the OIP or OGIP numbers. It is very important to have the most precise measurement of this fundamental property. So now we get into OIP calculations. And with respect to the Cummings zone, this was the intended target. The Recon more precise data logs show an increase in OIP of 23.2%. So, does Recon's high definition data make a difference? You bet it does. And to further illustrate that Recon is the most precise, this well had 7 stacked reservoirs, and we measured all of them. And as a result of those 7 stacked reservoirs, overall the OIP variance was an increase of 14.7%. So, some were higher, some were lower. In fact, all of them were just more precise, more accurate.